Did you know that the brain continues to renew itself even in old age? Discover how small daily choices can keep your mind young and sharp. We will cover neuroplasticity and why your brain never stops learning, the best antioxidant and anti-inflammatory foods, berries, avocado, fish rich in omega-3, sleep habits and relaxation techniques that cleanse your mind, simple physical exercises that will boost your memory, how to challenge your mind with continuous learning, the biggest villains of brain health, chronic stress, sedentary lifestyle, isolation and inflammatory diet, practical morning, afternoon and evening routine to protect your mind every day. If you want to ensure clarity, memory, and quality of life for many years to come, this video is for you. Subscribe and activate the bell for more health tips for seniors. Like if you want to see more content about brain longevity. Comment, what habit will you adopt first to take care of your brain? We spend our entire lives hearing about the importance of taking care of our hearts, bones, and blood pressure. But what about our brains? Who teaches us, from an early age, that our brains also need to be cared for, nourished, exercised, and protected every day? The truth is that our minds are the center of everything. It's where our dreams are born, where we keep our most precious memories, and where our identity resides. And that's why today I want to invite you to look at your brain with more care, more attention, and more respect. Many people think that it is normal for the mind to weaken as we grow older, that it is inevitable to lose our memory, concentration, and enthusiasm. But I want to tell you that this is not a sentence. It is not an absolute rule. Aging is a natural process. But losing the ability to live a full life doesn't have to be. There is a huge difference between getting older and getting sick, and that difference often lies in our daily choices. The brain has something wonderful called neuroplasticity. This means that, regardless of age, it can create new connections, strengthen specific areas, and adapt to new challenges. The brain can renew itself, always. But to do so, it needs the right fuel, the right stimulus, and the right environment. And how do we do this? Let's start with the most basic and most powerful: food. Everything we eat influences our brain health. It's no exaggeration to say that what goes on your plate today can determine how your memory will be tomorrow. Each nutrient you consume can be an ally or an invisible enemy. Antioxidant foods are true shields for the brain. They fight free radicals, unstable molecules that cause inflammation and damage to neuronal cells. And do you know where we find antioxidants in abundance? In red fruits: strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. Research published by Harvard University shows that frequent consumption of these fruits can delay brain aging by up to 2 years. 2 years, just by eating a handful of fruits a day. Another food that deserves to be highlighted is avocado. Rich in monounsaturated fats, it helps improve blood circulation in the brain, ensuring that oxygen and nutrients reach where they are most needed. In addition, avocado is a source of vitamin E, which protects brain cells against oxidative damage. And speaking of good fats, it is impossible not to mention cold water fish, such as salmon, sardines, and tuna. They are rich sources of omega-3, especially docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, which is essential for the formation of brain cell membranes. Studies from the University of Oxford indicate that low levels of DHA are associated with a higher risk of dementia and cognitive decline. But brain protection goes beyond big foods. Small details also make a difference. Turmeric, for example, contains curcumin, a powerful substance with anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. Research shows that turmeric can cross the blood-brain barrier and act directly on the brain, helping to combat the accumulation of amyloid plaques, which are associated with Alzheimer's. Want another simple secret? Walnuts. Rich in alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based form of omega-3, as well as antioxidants and anti-inflammatory phytochemicals, a handful of walnuts a day can improve thinking and slow mental decline, according to studies from UCLA. Now, in addition to what we put on our plate, there is another essential fuel for the brain: sleep. During deep sleep, our brain performs a crucial cleansing process. It eliminates toxic waste, reorganizes memories, and strengthens important connections. Sleeping too little or poorly, on the other hand, accelerates brain aging. Research published in the journal Nature Neuroscience has shown that older adults who sleep less have brains that shrink more quickly. So I ask you, have you given your brain the chance to rest and recover like it deserves? And it doesn't stop there. Physical movement is also food for the brain. Walking, swimming, dancing. Simple activities increase blood flow to the brain and stimulate the release of neurotransmitters such as dopamine and serotonin, which not only improve mood, but also strengthen learning and memory capacity. In fact, to keep your mind young, you need to challenge yourself. You know that book you always wanted to read but kept putting off? That online course you thought was for young people? That painting, language, or music class? All of this is exercise for the brain. And here's a fact to cheer you up. Research shows that learning new skills, even in old age, can increase brain volume in areas related to memory and reasoning. And if you think it takes a long time to start seeing benefits, I have some good news for you. Studies show that in just 6 weeks of new learning, the brain already creates new connections that are visible in imaging tests. In other words, it's never too late. Never. Now, I want you to stop for a moment and reflect. What new habit could you start today to stimulate your brain? It doesn't have to be anything grand. It could be as simple as changing your morning walk route, learning a different recipe, trying to solve a puzzle, talking to new people, listening to music in a genre you've never heard before. Every small change is a positive challenge for the brain, and when we add small changes every day, the result in the future is gigantic. It's more memory, more clarity, more autonomy, more life, and above all, more stories to tell. Because a healthy brain is a living bridge between the past, present, and future, and that's what we want, isn't it? Continue writing our story until the last chapter, with all the lucidity, all the passion, and all the joy that life deserves. Now that you know what you can do to strengthen your brain, it's time to learn about the silent enemies that need to be avoided. Because, unfortunately, some everyday habits act as real traps for mental health. And many of them are so common that we don't even realize how much they are harming us. The first major culprit is chronic stress. That stress that doesn't go away, that builds up day after day, turning small worries into major storms in the mind. Stress releases excess cortisol into the body, a hormone that, in high and constant levels, damages regions of the brain such as the hippocampus, which is essential for memory and learning. Studies show that elderly people exposed to high levels of cortisol have a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. So I ask you, how is your stress? Have you allowed yourself to take deep breaths, take moments for yourself, do activities that calm your mind? Often the solution lies in simple things: walking in nature, practicing meditation, talking to loved ones, listening to music that makes you smile. The secret is not to eliminate all stress. That would be impossible. It is to learn to navigate through it more lightly. Another hidden enemy is a sedentary lifestyle. Lack of movement weakens not only the body, but also the brain. Regular physical activity increases the volume of brain areas related to memory and learning. Research from Brigham and Women's AA from Harvard show that just 30 minutes of brisk walking a day can significantly reduce the risk of cognitive decline. And look, we're not talking about intense exercise or going to the gym. We're talking about natural movement, life in motion, dancing in the backyard, playing with the grandchildren, walking around the neighborhood, growing a garden. Each step is a seed of health planted in your brain. Now, perhaps the most underrated villain of all is social isolation. Yes, loneliness. The absence of true connections, of conversations, of shared laughter, is as damaging to the brain as smoking or having high blood pressure. The human brain is made for interaction. We need each other to keep our emotions healthy, our thoughts active, our hope alive. Research shows that socially isolated seniors have a 40% higher risk of developing dementia. 40%. That's a lot to ignore. Therefore, maintaining friendships, cultivating new bonds, participating in community activities, all of this is more than just leisure. It is vital care for your mind. And here's an interesting fact. Just 10 minutes of pleasant conversation a day is enough to stimulate brain regions related to language and reasoning. 10 minutes. Imagine the power that a coffee with a friend, a call to a loved one, or a conversation circle can have on your brain health. Now, in addition to these main villains, stress, sedentary lifestyle, isolation, there is a fourth enemy that needs to be fought: inflammatory diet. Ultra-processed foods, rich in refined sugars, trans fats, and chemical additives, are a time bomb for the brain. They increase systemic inflammation, promote insulin resistance in the brain, and are directly associated with the risk of early Alzheimer's. Replacing processed foods with real, fresh, colorful, living food is one of the most precious gifts you can give your mind. And remember, you don't have to change everything at once. The transformation happens on the plate, one choice at a time. Now, I want to bring you a fact that may move you as much as it moves me every time I read it. Researchers at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago have developed a protocol called the Mind Diet, a combination of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet focused on brain health. The results were impressive. People who followed this diet reduced their risk of developing Alzheimer's by up to 53%, and even those who followed the so-so diet had a 35% risk reduction. This shows that there is no necessary perfection. There is commitment, constancy, and affection for one's own story. Every healthy meal is a choice of self-love. Every walk is a step towards more autonomy. Every conversation is a silent vaccine against forgetfulness. And all of this, added together, builds something that is priceless: quality of life. Now, before we move on to the last part of our conversation, I want to make you reflect. If you could write a letter to your future self, what would you say to yourself? What precautions would you like to have taken? What habits would you like to cultivate? This letter is still being written, and you hold the pen. Every choice today is a line in this story, and the good news is that you can choose, from now on, to make this story even more beautiful. Now that we understand what strengthens and what weakens the brain, I want to invite you to build with me a small, great personal revolution. No impossible changes. No promises you'll forget in a week. I want to show you that protecting your brain can be as natural as brushing your teeth, as simple as breathing. So imagine with me an easy, practical routine that you can start applying today. First, start your day with gratitude and movement. Before you get out of bed, close your eyes for a few seconds and think of 3 things you are grateful for. This simple practice activates areas of the brain associated with well-being and optimism. Then, move your body. It doesn't have to be a run. It could be a light walk in the backyard, some gentle stretching, or a light dance in the living room. The important thing is to signal to your brain that the day has started with energy. For breakfast, swap white bread for a slice of whole grain bread. Add some berries to your plate, maybe a handful of nuts. Remember, every meal is a chance to nourish your neural connections. During the day, set out to learn something new, no matter how small. Read an interesting article, try a different recipe. Listen to a podcast about a topic you've never explored before. Challenging your brain is like watering a plant. Without stimulation, it wilts. With care, it blooms. Also take time to connect with someone. It could be a quick call to a friend, a visit to a neighbor, or an exchange of sincere messages. Cultivating human connections is just as important as cultivating good physical habits. At night, slow down. Turn off the television. Turn off your cell phone. Allow yourself to be present with yourself. Read a few pages of a book. Listen to some quiet music. Reflect on what you learned and experienced that day. And before you go to sleep, repeat the gratitude exercise. What made your day worthwhile? What small miracle did you witness today? This daily cycle, repeated with love and patience, will transform not only your brain, but your entire way of living. Now, you might be thinking, but can I do it? And I tell you, yes, you can. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how long you've spent without taking care of yourself. Your brain is a fertile land waiting to be renewed. In every moment, you can plant a new seed, and tomorrow you can reap fruits that will surprise you. So, I ask you, if you could guarantee that in 5, 10, 15 years, you would be more lucid, happier, more independent, would you start today? If the answer is yes, then know that you have already taken the first step now. Just by being here, seeking information, seeking transformation. Life is made of choices. And choosing to take care of your mind is choosing to live with more freedom, more memory, more love. Before we close, I want to invite you to a commitment. A silent commitment, just yours. How about choosing at least one new habit to start today? Just one. A short walk, an extra piece of fruit, an open book on the bedside table. Then another one. And so, little by little, you will be building an invisible and precious legacy. The strength of your mind, the clarity of your story, the beauty of your life lived to the fullest. And if this content touched you in any way, if you feel that protecting your brain is a gift you deserve, like this video, share it with those you love and subscribe to the channel. Because together, we will build a generation that is not afraid of getting older. A generation that chooses to live each chapter with more health, more joy, more awareness. And always remember, your best memory is yet to be created, and it starts now.